Milavapia.
Ban Rivers are respected monk, distinguished guests, and dear participant. Good evening to everyone, a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today for this Dawagu Education Forum. We are deeply honored and grateful to have our respected Ban Rivers are with us today to share valuable experience and insight. We really want to hear. Um, so we are going to run this program in a five pros. Number one, paying homage to the borders. Then introduction of the speaker. After that, inviting the speaker and transition to question and answer. And then we are going to recite as a closing session on Namo Tassa. Then, before we begin this program, I would like to inform everyone that this talk will be recorded and uploaded online for educational purpose. We humbly request that Ban Rivers our permission to record and share this session for the benefit of a wider audience. We respectfully seek your understanding and permission for this. Then, according to item number one, according to the program one, we will begin by paying homage to the blessed one. Let's respectfully recite the Namo Tassa three times together. Namo Tassa
Sa
Bhagavato
Bhagavato Arahato
Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Sammabuddhassa
Namo Tassa Bhagavato
Bhagavato
Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Thank you, everyone. Now, I would like to briefly introduce our respected speaker. It is a great blessing and honor to introduce Bhikkhu Subhuti, originally American computer programmer. He renounced worldly life and ordained in 2001 under Pausiology, dedicating himself wholeheartedly to meditation and Vinaya discipline. He has trained in both Myanmar and Sri Lanka, including at Na Uyana Monastery, living strictly according to the 227 Vinaya rule without handling money for 24 years, deeply devoted to meditation, study, teaching, and alms practice. Bande Subhuti embody sincerity, renunciation, and wavering commitment to preserving the Theravada Buddha Sasana. Today, we are honored to have Venerable Subhuti with us. Without taking much time, I would like to respectfully invite Venerable Subhuti to deliver his talk and share his valuable experience with us. Venerable sir, the floor is yours.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Um, I'm going to change my screen. I'm not going to share a screen, but I'm gonna put my slides up so I can see what so I can keep some type of order. So you can see me still?
Yeah, yes, we can
Yeah.
see you, but
Oh,
if
okay.
we have a chance to see your PowerPoint slide, it will be better view.
they're more like notes for myself, so they're not polished because I did this very quickly um, because it's my experience. So I didn't I have maybe like 20 slides, but I'd rather keep it to myself if possible. So I'm gonna just teach I'm gonna teach blind and so that I can't see you, but you can see me, and I can see my notes, but you can't see my notes. So if you allow me to do this, so
Okay,
I
okay.
want
Thanks anyway. Please say carry on. Okay.
yes, yes. Um, so I like to share things that inspire me and things I'm happy about and things that I've done that I feel very good about. Sometimes I share about going for alms. Sometimes I share just regular Dhamma talks. And one of the things I've been wanting to share is my experience at the University of Kelaniya. In my notes, I just have U of Kelaniya because it's my notes. And I just wanted to explain like how I got to the University of Kelaniya. So at that time, last year, a little over a year ago, I was at the International Institute of Theravada, which is a new Pariyatti center in Sri Lanka. They opened it up, and immediately 70 monks, around 70 monks, joined for their program. And I was there. I think I gave a talk while I was maybe while I was there, and another time when I was in Kandy after I left. And that program is very very rigorous, and it's about we have classes maybe 5 6 hours a day, not to mention our extra study time, and then we have it 4 days a week, and then on Fridays we have exams, and it was a lot of work, and I think I'm a little too old for this. So it's a monastic training, and the education I want to say is is better at IIT. It's more rigorous, we could say. It's monastic training at the International Institute of Theravada. And but I think I'm a little old for this. The goal is to get the Nisaya Muktika, the freedom from Nisaya, and they have a 6 year program, which obviously includes a lot more. So I finished all the requirements, or the majority of them. You know, did the Patimokkha, I did the Bhikkhuni Patimokkha, I did the Chatubhanawara Pali, which are the big chunks of the Nisaya requirements that every monk needs in order to become independent without taking Nisaya from a qualified teacher. So I was looking for a way to phase my phase myself out of this rigorous education, and I noticed that one of our teachers, I won't say who, is getting a master's in Buddhist psychology, and there was another student who also had a master's who had already taken a master's in Buddhist studies. And they told me they were taking, they told me that they were at the University of Kelaniya.
Mhm.
And, but actually, what I later found out, and I think that you would know through your group, is that they were at the Postgraduate Institute of Pali Buddhist Studies. So this is like a sub school of the main university. It has a good reputation, um, but they kept referring it to the University of Kelaniya, and I wanted to sign up, and so I Googled the University of Kelaniya Masters in Buddhist Studies, and I got the main university, which also has a master's program in the Buddhist studies. So there was a little bit of confusion when I signed up because there's a postgraduate institute that's part of the University of Kelaniya. And then there's the main university with a huge campus, etc. And this one also has a master's in Buddhist studies. And they also, we call it PGI PBS. They also have a master's in Buddhist psychology as well. And I found out about the schedule, and it was a lot lighter than the schedule that I was doing at the what we call IIT, the International Institute of Theravada. And so I wanted a lighter schedule, and I wanted to study more of my own interests. I wanted to study Pali. I wanted to study, wanted to meditate and basically study Pali and be more focused on Pali rather than have it be just one of the subjects. But it would be a self-study. So I what I did was I signed up and I did the application form. And after I did the application form, I realized that there were two different places that had masters in Buddhist studies. And so I went to each place and visited each place to see what each place is about. In America and maybe Europe, when you go to a university, you visit the place and you see if you really want to go there. So I visited the Postgraduate Institute of Pali Buddhist Studies, and I also visited the University of Kelaniya. And one of the things that was um, some of the I had to decide whether I wanted to go to the Postgraduate Institute or if I wanted to go to the main university. And the post, I'll cover the cost in case some of you are interested in going. The both universities have a 1 year program and a 2 year program. And at that time, I was only looking at 1 year. And the flyer says that I finished my master's. Actually, I finished the exams. The exams were over a couple weeks ago, and I finished the exams for the first year. And I have a thesis that I need to write, and we haven't gotten the exams back. So I just want to clarify that. Both programs, the Postgraduate Institute or the main university, they're $900. And monastics can get a discount of it's $700 for monastics. The local Sri Lankans pay around $200. It's almost negligible. It's almost free. And if you're if you're taking it remotely, if you're like from another country, you have to pay another $200 to have an online monitoring sort of test taking environment. It's called Proctorio. And they have eye tracking to make sure you're always looking at the computer and that you can't be looking at notes, and they monitor you, and they might have live people watching your camera, and they can, if they see something suspicious, they flag you and they review the video, etc. So the main university, if you don't go to the exams in person, you have to use this service, which costs an extra $200. The PGI PBPS doesn't have that actually. And that was one of the reasons why I chose to go to the University of Kelaniya. It might have been a mistake, but but when I'm taking an exam as a monk, I have to follow the rules and the ethics and whatever. And it seemed like the monitoring of the exams um, were not. I knew that I would be. I felt like I would be following the rules, but I didn't know if other people would be following the rules. And I've heard that people just use notes anyways when they take the exam as well. And this is for the Postgraduate Institute of Pali Buddhist studies. And apparently there's nothing in the handbook that prevents anyone from doing that. So I live near the airport. There's a plane flying by right now. I don't know if you can hear me. Just wait a couple of seconds for it to pass. So I wanted a level playing field, and even though it was more rigorous, that I'll get into the exams and what they were like. Um, I wanted a level playing field. I wanted all the students to be on the same, um, standard for exams. And even the remote students would have this Procterio uh, program monitoring them. And so that was one of the main reasons that I chose the University of Kelaniya versus the Postgraduate Institute of Pali Buddhist Studies. I also visited them, and I visited them during the exam monitoring session. And the professors was very kind to me, and he answered all my questions. Um, but the Postgraduate Institute is 100% online, even if you're locally in the country, it's 100% online. The University of Kelaniya, the main campus, is 50% online. So we have physical classes, and we also have online classes, and they alternate. So we have the classes for our program were on Saturdays only, and we had 6 hours of classes every Saturday. And we have six classes. We have six classes in our syllabus. And we would we would have 2 hours of class time for each class. Then we get like maybe a 5 minute break, and then we have another 2 hour class, and then we have another 2 hour class. And they have like a half hour break for lunch. Ironically, they schedule the break for lunch at 11:45, which was a little difficult for me because sometimes during the year, some parts of the year, the solar noon is like, noon. And so it got a little difficult for the food, but I managed, and I was able to eat my lunch during the break in between the two classes. So they would have three classes on a Saturday, and it would be 6 hours worth of classes. And then they would have another Saturday, and that would be the other three courses. So we have six courses total, and then we have three one Saturday, three another Saturday, and then a whole cycle is finished. And then, so we'll go to class in physical class, and they also have Zoom at the same time for people who are in different countries or people who are local and don't want to go. And then we have two more Saturdays to make a full cycle that are online, and they're Zoom based. And I made an effort to go to nearly every single class if I could. There was one time I was in America, and I missed some of the classes. I missed one Saturday's worth of classes. But the classes were really, really good. And so I was very happy that I joined the main university. My friend, who is Alankara monk, who went to the postgraduate institute, he said that the teachers were really impressive, and he's educated himself. And I also believe that the teachers that I had were really impressive as well. And So I eventually decided to go to the main university because when I met with them to ask them questions, I met with a whole bunch of professors at the same time. And so I got to see what was going on, and they had a file on me. And so I decided to stay with the main university, even though they didn't have a monastic discount or anything. And so I was very happy with my decision. And we also had the ability to go and see the teachers, and that was a really nice commodity to have. Uh, and a lot of the students didn't go to class, and sometimes the classes were as little as 3 or 4 students, and maximum maybe, I think in the beginning of the school year, we had maybe 10 students or so, or 15 students. And then the average class participant size would be about the first class might have, because we have 3 classes per day, the first class might have maybe 6 to 8 students, and then it drops a couple, per class. And I really enjoyed the classes. From what I remember of being in college, being in university, classes were like 30, 40 students, sometimes lecture halls, sometimes 200 students. So I just really loved the ability to interact with the professors. And so I was really happy. I'd be in class and I'd be smiling the whole time and taking notes, diligent notes. And it was a real treat for me. And I took notes to keep myself focused. I'm older, I'm 55 years old. I have to work twice as hard as the other students because I'm older. And I'll talk about the grading. The grading system is a lot different than what I'm used to. And I think it's related to maybe a UK system, which might be similar to what Myanmar does, because both countries, Sri Lanka and Myanmar, were both Commonwealth countries. So an A is actually is 70 marks. An A plus is 85 marks to 100, and I guess probably no one gets that. And an A is 70 marks to 84 marks. An A minus is 65 marks to 69 marks. A B plus is 60 marks to 64 marks. A B is 55 to 59, and a B minus is 50 to 54 marks. And I can go lower, but according to the standards, if you get less than 50%, you have to retake the exams. So even though a B minus is 50 marks, um, they at least they cut it off from there. But they score the exams more rigorously, and so you have to really study, I guess, very hard for the exams. And they have they have a ordinary pass, which is 2.7, which I said was like 50 points or higher. They have a merit pass, which is 65 points or higher. And you need to get the ordinary pass or higher you need to get more than 50 points to be able to write your thesis, to be able to qualify to write your thesis. And if you don't do that, then you don't get a chance to write your thesis, but you can take the exams next year. But according to AI, it said it's really bad if you can't get that. To give you a perspective, in America, 90 points or higher is in the A range, 80 points or higher is in the B range, and um, 70 points or higher is in the C range. And if you're a C student, if you get 70 points, you're really not very great. So, So a D range is 60 points and an F range is sort of like in the 50 range and lower. So so the scoring is uh, it's a little bit like Celsius and it's a little bit like Celsius and Fahrenheit, I guess, or like using the ounces and meters and sorry, ounces and liters, etc., quarts and liters, etc. So, but Fahrenheit and Celsius is maybe a better comparison because 100 degrees Celsius is like boiling water, but it can actually be 100 degrees Fahrenheit and be fairly hot, maybe like 35 to 100, 35 to 40 degrees is like 100 Fahrenheit. So anyways, the numbers are lower and what what I've heard, they're a little bit stingy with the grades. In order to get like a 75, you have to be somewhat on par with the teacher. You have to give extra information, be more than a parrot. So you could actually give everything that the teacher gives and maybe just get a 60 or 65 grade. So but in order to get the A, you have to be creative in your answers, from what I've been told. A little bit about the classes. So there's 6 classes. There's the study of canonical texts. There's the Buddhist psychology and counseling. Another class is Buddhism and social problems. Another class is international trends of Buddhism. Another class is called Buddhist literary criticism. And the 6th class is called research methods. And from what I gather, every master's program, no matter what it is, whether it's biology or, art, photography, or physics, will have research methods as part of the master's course. And I'll get into the details of the classes as well. And if you're in the 2-year program, you have your research dissertation. So if you're a 2-year student, half of your grade or half of your master's degree will be doing your master's thesis. So the study of the Pali Canon was one of the courses, is the first listed courses. And they always refer, one of the interesting things which was new to me was they always referred to the classes as the numbers. And so this was the class that ended in 1-5 for me. And so they always just said this number class is happening, this number class is happening, and we would get a notification through WhatsApp. And they had a WhatsApp group for the students, and they had a WhatsApp group where the administrators or the coordinators would announce what classes we're having. Some usually the day of or a few days before, we would know what this class schedule would be like, but it's usually full. And sometimes some classes got canceled. There was technical difficulties or there was scheduling difficulties, but most of the time we had all of our classes. So the first class was the study of the Pali Canon, and this would be just a general classical Buddhist class to get you familiar with the Pali Canon, the Mula text, basically. So we have the Vinaya, we have the nature of Vinaya, maybe the objectives of Vinaya, maybe they talked about sort of I think they called it jurisprudence, and but that was the adhikaranas, how to settle disputes and how to judge whether an offense was made, and how to bring the Sangha together and keep the Sangha from splitting. And we had also information about Upasampada and Pabbaja. And this was basic Vinaya. I liked the courses. I had to study, you still had to study for them, but I like this course because it's very close to what monastics would already know. But you still learn new things and more details because there's a lot of information. When they're giving the lecture for 2 hours, all you're doing is just continuously taking notes, and they're just dumping a lot of information for each class. And so you still have to study, you still have to take notes, and I studied a lot and I took a lot of notes. They talked about the suttas. We had some stuff about the Rahula Owada Sutta. We had Ambalatika Rahula Owada Sutta. There was one on the Sutta of Right View, Samaditi Sutta. Sorry, maybe Brahmajala Sutta. Sorry, and then we had a mixture of suttas, like a Dhamma talk, which was a topic for our test about knowing how to know the difference between something that is kusala and akusala, something that's right and wrong. And then we had an Abhidhamma section, which was fun. And I like Abhidhamma. And they talked about the various chittas and the origins of Abhidhamma and the vittis and a little bit of Paticca Samuppada. And so that was generally what the class was about. So you can get a feel for what the classes were about. And this would be close to maybe what most monastics would be studying or generally studying. And and then the other courses would be more like sort of adaptations to apply Buddhism to different various topics and relating them to other topics. For instance, the next course would be called Buddhist Psychology and Counseling. And so what they would do is they would relate the Buddhist text to psychology. Miss Rise Davids wrote a book called Buddhist Psychology. She translated the Abhidhamma text, and Abhidhamma is like the science of the mind. They called, the Buddha is called the great physician, the great surgeon. The Four Noble Truths, sometimes they say like you you uh, you have a diagnosis of like suffering, and then you have the treatment, and then you know that there's a cure for it, and so we have that as well, the Four Noble Truths, and they also talk about some of the classic stories, like Kissa Gotami and Patachar, who had difficulties dealing with death, and then Angulimala, who was causing a lot of death. And we also talk about the mind, how we have contact, feeling, perception, and thinking, and the perceptions, and it leads to papancha with the Madhupindika Sutta. So that what they do is they take a lot of the suttas and the Buddha's teachings, and they sort of um, uh, it like a pivot. It pivots into the realm of psychology, and they also talk about consciousness. And we also talked about Dhamma therapy, also Dhamma Patikara. I think that's what it was called. And we talked about character types, and we also talked about the downfalls of using Buddhism for psychiatry. So now Buddhism is sort of in vogue for people like to study Buddhism to help themselves with their psychological well-being. Like you had Venerable Panyakara, uh, early on in this talk, just a small little blurb on his new Chetya that he's doing. And, a lot of people they want peace, and you can get it through mindfulness, and that was his main message. But there's also a lot of people are using it with Jack Kornfield. Jack Kornfield is one who really brought into the realm of Buddhism and psychology. He has a PhD in psychology, and there was a lot of it became very popular, especially in the 90s. We have John Kabat-Zinn, and we talked about some modern people as well, and MBSR and cognitive-based therapy, which have Buddhist roots. But for psychiatry, they also talked about how the monks are not psychiatrists. It's the world of humanities, and so we shouldn't play the role of a medical doctor, and so we should be careful of of who we deal with. We also learned about abnormal psychiatry, like how to diagnose things and the different categories from DSM-5, which is a standard book, a manual for diagnostic and statistical manual for um, diagnosing psychiatric disorders. And we also we also learned about basic psychology too, because it assumes that people come from different backgrounds. So the first course, if you didn't have a Buddhist background, they had that first course, the Buddhist Pali Canon, to bring you up to speed in the Buddhist teachings. And then for psychology, they also had basic psychology there too. They told us of all the different types of psychology schools and the lead teachers, like Skinner behavioral schools and Freud and Maslow and Beck and so they had different sort of a historical approach. Who was the first psychologist and the first person who studied psychiatry, and but a lot of it was comparing the suttas to psychology and applying the Buddha's advice to achieve peace. But in regular psychology, you want to have the person be sort of functionable in society. But in Buddhism, they talk about how the the cure we're looking for the permanent cure, the arhatship. So that was generally what we talked about in the psychology class, which was the second class that I mentioned, Buddhist psychology. We had another class which was called Buddhism and Social Problems. And so this is masters, and so what they do is they apply the teachings to different topics, and how can you sort of pivot the teachings into the realm of psychology, and then they pivot it again into the realm of social problems and how it's used within society. So in the beginning, we learned about law and order, and how where in the Vinaya, of course, we have lots of laws. But we also explore like how some suttas, they have some suttas and some stories about the kings coming to power, and how they decided to start punishing um, people. First there was someone who stole some stuff, and he says, "Why did you steal?" He says, "Because I'm poor." He says, "Well, take some money," and then everyone started stealing because they wanted money. So that didn't fix it. So then they had to punish people. And so we learned about the Buddhist law and like Aganya Sutta as well, where the first king was made, and why we have laws, etc. then we learned about like modern problems, overpopulation, the problems with the youths, and they're getting anxiety and stress, and how like they can sort of how we can fix these problems. They relate them to the hindrances, and how you can some suttas can help with like Vitaka. You have Anapanasati Sutta, so if you want to be alone, if you're feeling too overcrowded, you can learn meditation and be have seclusion in that way. We also talked about environmental problems, and then we talked about the solutions or the importance in the environment with the Buddhist studies. And there's quite a few Vinaya rules for the environment about and like how we're not supposed to cut down trees. The monks aren't supposed to cut down trees, and we're supposed to protect the forest from the fires, and we're not supposed to dig the earth, and so then there's also a lot of references to the forests, all the different types of parks and groves in the suttas, and the Vanaropa Sutta, they talk about those who build parks and they make merit all the time. So we talked about the environment and solutions using Buddhism to solve the problem of environment. Of course, we have marriage and family. So there's quite a bit on that. We had the Sattvaria Sutta, 7 types of wives. And then we have Sigala Ovada Sutta, Saleka, I think it's Saleka Sutta, Sigala Ovada Sutta, Visakha's, the advice to Visakha. And we also have solutions for poverty as well, like how Buddhism tells you how to manage your money and who to avoid and who to associate with in order to avoid poverty. Then we had international trends in Buddhism. And international trends in Buddhism was more or less how Buddhism spread from India to different countries, including America. Uh, we had a whole section on America, and they didn't ask that for the exam, which was too bad. I was hoping that would be on the exam. But they also they also had well, first they talked about the rise and fall of India, Buddhism in India. So first it fell. We had the Buddha was there, it was wonderful, and then um, we started having splits, different sects, and then you had Hinduism come, and then um, you had you had loss of support from the kings and other religions coming. And so Buddhism went down in India, and then you had the great revival by Dr. Ambedkar. And so he like brought back Buddhism and ordained,
Dr. Ambega.
yeah, yeah, Dr. Ambedkar. And so he ordained, I think, about 600,000 people. And then again later another 300,000 on the great going forth. I forget the name of it now. So I took the exam and I forgot a lot. But there was the great conversion that happened, and I think it was like 1954, 1956. And so a lot of people took Buddhism as their religion. So that was the rise and fall of Buddhism, or the fall and the rise. I also mentioned Goenka, so he's done a lot for Buddhism in America and the world.
Goenga.
Yeah, Goenka. So then they also talked about how it came, a little bit about Thailand, about how Thailand is organized. They have like a whole hierarchy for Thailand, so they did a whole lecture on that. And then we also had one on Myanmar. So that was fun because I've lived in Myanmar for over 10 years, I think. So that was an easy question topic for me to pick. And we also had how Buddhism came to China, how it came to Tibet, how it came to the West, especially from started in Europe and then made its way to England and then to USA. And I don't remember them talking much about Sri Lanka, maybe because, it's a Sri Lankan program, so um, there wasn't much about Sri Lanka, probably because they have it in their own history. They already know it, so they don't want to cover it. The next course was called Buddhist Literary Criticism. And originally I thought that this would be like a lot of what we hear about in the West, and people criticizing and doing early Buddhist texts and criticizing the teachings. This was made up, this was added, this was taken out. This is the commentaries, and it doesn't make sense. I thought it would be this, and I thought it would be my worst class. But actually, Buddhist literary criticism is not to criticize, but it's to be a critic, like an art critic, and you critique Buddhism as an art form. And this was, uh, pardon the expression, enlightening, from a Western perspective. And this ended up being one of my favorite classes because it opened up my eyes to looking at different characteristics. And if you start learning like Abhidhamma, you you already know chittas because you're living chittas, and you know chaitasikas because they're part of the chittas. But when you study them and you pay uh, specific attention to certain aspects and certain details, they become stronger when you study them. And and so that's maybe an analogy of what Buddhist literary criticism was. So I really liked that. So we talked about the aesthetics of things, how language is used within the Buddhist texts and the commentaries. A lot of it was Gatha based. A lot of it was based on Gathas, but not necessarily. And they also talked about the six schools of Eastern literary criticism. And that that's we have like the sentiments, we have the adornments, we have style, um, we have sort of vyakroti, which is sort of a crooked um, uh, I think it's an ironic way of speaking. Then we have Devani, and so we have different schools of literary criticism, Sanskrit literary criticism. It was borderline Sanskrit stuff. A lot of it was Sanskrit based. And so we had like the different rasas. So there's like 10 types of flavors or sentiments that you can look for, and you might be able to find all of them within one story. And they also have a list of the alankaras, the ornaments. And so these were covered in detail as well. So like 9 sentiments and 10 alankaras. And then we would study examples of them. We'd have to give some of our own examples if we want more points. And, if we do this for the exam. And so this was very interesting for me. And then we also had Wuttodaya, which is Subodhalankara. So it's the way that the meter system of gathas. So we learned that as well. The last course, I'm almost finished talking about the courses, and then I'll talk more about how it felt to be there. The last course was called Research Methods. And this is a standard course that I gather that any master's program would have. And so it's more or less like how to write a thesis, how to do research, how to look up sources, the different types of sources, how to do citations, how not to plagiarize, reference the different reference systems, MLA, the APA, Chicago, Harvard systems. Talk about different types of research. We have quantitative, qualitative research. One is like, um, one is like how you collect your data and mixed, and then uh, we also talked about Buddhist scholars from a historical uh, point of view, like who is the first person who is considered like a Buddhologist, one who studied Buddhism. And so there's this person called Hodgson, and he was stationed in India, and then later went to Nepal, and then he discovered these um, manuscripts of Sanskrit, and he sent him to Europe to be evaluated, and that's how the ball got rolling. And then we have PTS, and we have Rise Davids and Foosball and some other people, um, all the way up to what we have today with like Bhikkhu Bodhi and other scholars today who did the initial translations. And so we also learned about them, and we learned about traditional studies. We have like apologetics and polemics, and that's where you just sort of defend and debate with other schools or sects. An example of that would be like Katawatu. And then we have modern studies, which would be historical, comparative, and critical, looking at the historical perspective, the perspective, and the critical perspective. And then we also talked a little bit about the different sects and how they changed. They became sects, different divisions based on their take on how they viewed the text. And rather than just being dogmatic, sort of like Theravada would be, we just follow everything that's written down. They sort of said, no, now wait a minute, we should look at this, and this doesn't match, and whatever. And so we also covered that aspect of Buddhist research. So the research methods was probably about 60% just standard, how to write a thesis, how to do research. And then there was another like 40%, which was learning about different Buddhist scholars and sort of this methodology. The the exams at the end of the year, we had zero exams. We had no like small tests and big tests, and then a midterm and a final exam. We only had a final exam. And generally speaking, all the classes seemed to have maybe 9 topics, either that they would cover or wanted to cover. And from those 9 topics, they would give you 8 questions on the exam. And then from those 8 questions on the exam, you would have 4 questions that you could pick. The exams were 3 hours each. We had 2 per day, so it's another 6 hour day, and it was on a Saturday only. And we had 18 hours of exams total. And that was crazy. I don't know if I have one of my pens. Wait, hold on, let me see if I have a pen. Yeah, I had to make a pen. um, that had a wider base because I was getting carpal tunnel from writing so much. And but we had 3 hours in the morning, and then we had an hour break, and then we had 3 hours in the afternoon. So we had two exams per day, 6 hours of writing, and they're pure essay exams. So they just tell us everything you know about Indian, how the rise and fall of Buddhism in India. So that might be one question. And you could you could gamble a little bit, and I did that. And you could focus on maybe like 5 questions out of 8, and chances are that you would be able to answer 4. Sometimes I studied 6 questions, but I didn't study all of them because they're going to ask you to write. Basically, they want you to dump everything that you know about this one topic. They'll ask you a question, and it's um, uh, sort of leans a certain way, that you have to apply while you write it. But generally speaking, you're dumping all your information and you're giving a little extra information, and you prepare a very long essay, and you're going to be writing for at least 45 minutes continuously. So around 40 minutes continuously. So it's maybe 45 minutes. I forget. I would prepare for about 25 minutes, and then I would continuously write 4 questions for the remainder of 25, 2.5 hours. So it was quite tiring. And at that time, I think I mentioned that, the other university, I think the exams were a lot easier. They only had 3 questions to do, and it seemed like students were having open book almost. They could use their notes when they wanted. I don't know if it's allowed or whatever, but uh, in any case, it was difficult. The exams were really difficult, and because I'm older, I have to study a lot longer. There was a big flood in Sri Lanka. Actually, our monastery was actually like a refugee center. We're called Gangarama. We're right near the river, but we're higher up, and so we were completely unaffected. But we had like 40 or 50 people living in our meditation hall as refugees, and we distributed uh, at sometimes 500 meals in the morning, 500 meals in the afternoon, and so we raised money from our donors, and we made a lot of meals and gave to the villagers. And so because of that, a lot of people were flooded in Sri Lanka. A good part of the island was flooded, and so they delayed the exams by 3 or 4 weeks. So we had extra time to study, which was good. I could use that extra time, and luckily I wasn't suffering. It's helping out a little bit, but most of the time I was doing extra study. So we had 4 questions. We had 4 questions. Each one is 20 points. So that's 80 points. And then you have 20 points, which is the assignments. In America, we call them term papers. They're about 10 to 20, even maybe even more pages of research that you do based on a topic. So you cover a topic, and then you'll have, a bibliography, a reference section, citation section, and you'll do it according to like American Psychology Association, the whole citation system. And so you have to hand those in throughout the year. So um, maybe one month you'll have one paper, another month you'll have another paper like this, and you have to You have to print it out and give it to them. If you're a remote student, I guess you just upload it. I uploaded and I gave it directly. And that was fun. It's a lot of work, but I'm better at sort of gathering research and creative writing for those who know me on Facebook and my website. So I do this anyways. So it was fun, but it was a little more official. And you have to whatever you say, you have to back it up with citations. And so this was fun to for me to do. I liked it a lot. And so one of the things we had to do for Buddhist psychology is we had to go to the island-wide mental hospital, National Institute of Mental Health. I think that's what it was, NIMH. And we had to look at uh, the mental hospital and tour it, and uh, we had all these seminars. It's a teaching hospital as well, so there's maybe 200 of us visiting at the same time. It was like an open house type thing, and so we did that, and then we wrote about our experience and a little section on one of the wards that we found interesting. In trends in Buddhist studies, we had a we had a topic about the history of the Polytech Society, and I wrote there's a lot of information on how the Polytech Society um, came, and I sort of I did a paper on that and talked about the evolution of technology. I'm a technology monk, and so I made it how the evolution of technology. And the Vinaya studies, we had to explain the relationship between Dhamma and Vinaya. And I called it like a uh, holistic approach to the Dhamma, so that we must include the Dhamma and the Vinaya together. It's not just Vinaya for monks, but it's everything. And so I talked about that, and I also pulled in the Abhidhamma to that because I called it a holistic approach. Then for Pali literature, we had to um, literary criticism. We had to talk about similes in Buddhism, and so I took the I took similes and I sort of um, pushed them onto the different uh, metaphors. Sorry, the sentiments and the schools of the poetics, the six schools of the poetics that I talked about. And so that was another paper that I did. And then we wrote one on poverty and debt and how the Buddhist teachings can solve poverty and debt. And I also sort of pushed it into I also talked about a spiritual poverty as well. So I sort of twisted it with that. And then for the research methodology, uh, we had to write a mock thesis proposal. And if you're a one-year student, you had to do you had to read a dissertation, like a PhD dissertation, and then write a review over it. So originally I was a one-year student, and then I became motivated to become a two-year student, and I changed mid-course. And lastly, if you're a two-year student, you have to write a thesis. It's about 100 pages typed, a little less than 100 pages, between 80 and 100 pages. And they said 20,000 words, A4 size. And that's, I get to see myself now. I finished my slides. And so that is pretty much about the experience of the structure of the master's program. I wanted to mention I was very impressed with with the thing. I was mostly covering the technical details because I'm technical. But one of the things that was really impressive was the professors. And I was so happy. It was such a treat. You know, if you do a class and if you do a a master's program in the West, it's going to cost, I don't know, 10, 20, 30,000, $100,000. You go to University of Chicago, it costs $100,000 a year. And a lot of these a lot of these programs, if it's on Buddhism in the West, they're going to have all three schools. They're going to have uh, Mahayana, Vajrayana. Uh, so in Theravada and maybe Zen or something like that. So you're going to have to uh, put up with that and study all the different schools. But this was besides the trends, the Buddhist trends, and learning about the history of how Buddhism went to China. You know, is just a little bit of Mahayana, a little bit of Vajrayana, just 10 minutes worth, 20 minutes worth, and the rest was sort of history. And so we got to the the master's program was Theravada based, but it was a master's program. It wasn't just courses. And so it was really good. And the teachers, the professors were really smart. And they could quote the Pali very well. The majority of them were well-spoken lecturers, the top level, from what I could see, it was like top level uh, professors. And for me, I felt that, you know, if we try to take away Buddhism and let's suppose you're doing a master's in Oriental studies, okay? And let's suppose you went to Beijing University, you know, in China to do Oriental studies. You're a Westerner, and you go to Beijing University, and you could go to Harvard, you could go to Harvard, you could go to Yale, you could go to Oxford, okay? But you do Oriental studies in China, you know, and it's one of the top rated universities in China or something like that. And so the University of Kelaniya, you know, you're studying Theravada and you're getting the top, you know, it's the in Buddhist studies, it's like one of the top three universities. And and I think a lot of the professors they go from university to university. And so I felt spoiled that it was so accessible for me to get into a university and to study at maybe one of the best places to learn Theravada um, with a proper university system. So it was a real treat. A lot of the I have to plug in my power. Hold on a second. A lot of the professors I could feel might have been monks in the previous existence, like maybe in this life, uh, because they could quote Pali better than monks could, and it was very impressive. You know, they don't have anything in front of them, and you know sometimes they have notes and stuff like that, but sometimes they're just facing us, and they're just and they're quoting Pali verses, and it's very impressive. So the teachers were the professors were I was very impressed by a majority of them, and the class sizes were very small, and there was a group of students who, even on the online presence, who were going to the same classes, and it was very it felt very intimate, and I think if you went to some other I think if you went to some other like well-known school or something like that in your West, you wouldn't get that attention. You wouldn't get that quality of teaching. You wouldn't get that Theravada only approach with a graduate level approach to things. And so I was very happy about that. And that's why I wanted to share the program. It's already started. If you want to sign up for it, there were some students who started late. Maybe they'll let you do that. But I totally recommend it, and I totally recommend going to the main University of Kelaniya. Um, maybe the exams might be better. The professor, when I asked about the exams, uh, when I when I went to PGI PBS to interview the professor, he said, look, being able to memorize things is not a level of intelligence. It's your quality of being able to write and being able to do research. And that's what they're really looking for. And so that's why things are a little more relaxed, maybe at that side. But the exams were exhausting. They were very difficult. But it was an experience as well. And being local, I had a choice. I'm sorry, being a foreigner, but being local, I had a choice whether I wanted to go to classes or whether I wanted to go online. And it was a big effort. I live an hour away. Before I think I gave a talk when I was living in Kandy, and I used to spend 4 hours trying to get to class, and it was worth it. It was really worth it. I would come the night before, I'd take a 3 hour bus, it would take a half hour to get to the bus, and then I have to wait for the bus, and then you have to go, and then you have to go to the place where you're going to sleep over the night before, and then it was a lot of work just to get to class. And then I moved to a place that's an hour away, a little over an hour away. And things were a little easier when I moved closer. And it was a real treat to go to these classes and to go in person rather than just do it online. And so that was really really nice for me. And so yeah, it was a really good experience. I guess I'm smiling, so you can you can see how much I'm always smiling a lot of times, but uh, but it was really nice, and we learned different aspects. And now the exams have passed, and the same reason why I left IIT, doing all that work, and then I forget, but you still have that general knowledge that you have. You have to look up, you know where to look things up again, and the research will start. And so I picked a topic for my thesis. I want to do something on the evolution of technology and its effects on learning. So the scale of technology is going exponential right now. And but I think that we need to mix a little bit of the old school and the new school together. That's my hypothesis. That in order to effectively learn Buddhism, we have to uh, we still have to focus on a certain area. You can't know everything. With AI and everything, and all the indexing and everything, the electronic tools, and even my tool, the Tipitaka Bali Reader, you feel like you can know everything, but really the mind can only absorb so much. And so my thesis is going to be on, yes, we can use the tools to analyze the grammar. We can learn Pali maybe a little more systematically. We can understand the texts a little bit better with modern tools. But in general, there's benefits to memorizing things. So I have the Patimokkha memorized, so I have a little bit of old school Theravada in me as well. I did the Chatubhanavara Pali, and I did the Bhikkhuni as well. So I have some old school memorization in me, and I also see the benefit, and I resisted it for a long time. I'm like, why can't we just know the rules rather than just memorizing? But there is advantages to memorizing text. And before I came here, I was doing the puja with the lay people, the chanting and stuff like that. And so it's good to have the old school oral tradition as well. And so that's what my thesis is going to be related to, because my degree and my undergraduate degree was in education, not computer science. I never really went into teaching so much. And then I went directly into computer programming, even though I didn't have a degree for that. And then, I'm a Buddhist monk, and then I got involved back into some programming with my apps. So it's all related. So I'd like to have my thesis be something that I'm genuinely interested in. And then the research is very easy because you're interested in it. And that's what we learned about that in our research methods class, that generally you should be interested in what you're studying. Otherwise, it's torture. So so that's it. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. Um, and the I guess it's up to the moderator at this time. So thanks for letting me share. I'm really happy to share. If you need to get in touch with the school, either you want to sneak in this year, you might be able to. I can't guarantee anything. I think it's closed, but I think you can wiggle your way in. And and if you want to do it in other years, I'm still connected to the university. I'm a 2-year student. I didn't finish anything yet. I don't even have my grades yet. We won't get our grades until April. So it's going to be a while. It's a 3-month grading period. So they have a lot of papers to grade. Yeah. So they're pure essays and it takes a while. And I heard maybe it might even go through a supervisor. A few different people will grade our exams. So hopefully I'll qualify. I hope I qualify because I want to continue. I'm feeling really good about being able to write a thesis, and I like doing research now. So it's it's
Mm.
good. It's good. So I do it on my own with my website and my talks as well. I mean, that's what monks do. We're always doing Dhamma talks and researching things related to Buddhism. And hopefully you like doing it. Hopefully it's not a chore. So it's work, but it's hopefully something we like to do.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bandri Besar, for your sharing experience and your inspiring. We deeply appreciate your time. And now the time is for the question. So if you have any question on this sharing, please kindly show the sign of your hand, and you can write your question in the chat box. So now we open for the floor for the question and answer session.
Okay. And the Bhikkhu
Okay,
Subhuti,
thank.
thank you very much
Hmm.
for your time and for your sharing experience. I'm really happy that you're happy studying there. Okay.
Yeah,
But I'm
it
curious,
was really
Andy,
nice.
and I'm curious that you practice, you follow the Vinaya rule very strictly, You don't
Yes,
touch
yes.
money over 20 years.
Yeah.
So it is
Yeah.
convenient for you to
Was it
study there
the whole time? Yeah.
without breaking any rule. No, I mean,
Yes.
it is convenient for you to study there without breaking any rule,
Yeah,
like
I mean
for
that's a
lunch,
requirement.
time, and
Yeah. That's a requirement. During
for
that
the
time, actually.
mm.
during that time, I actually wrote an article called "Is Uber Allowed for Monks to Use?" So, in order to get around, I had to use Uber. Uber is like Grab
Mm.
in Myanmar, I think. It's one of these
Mm.
telephone apps to get a ride.
Yep. Mm.
And you can use a
Mm.
credit card. You can use a credit card in that. And so I had my Kapia log into my account, and then he set it up with his credit card,
Mm.
and then he invited me to if I needed a ride, I could just I could use I could ask Uber for anything I needed, sort of like a donor arrangement with a Kapia. So like a donor can leave money at a store, at a food shop, and say, if you need your meal, go to this store, and they will give you whatever you want. So it's donor invited usage of a service. And so this is one of the ways that I was able to get around and continue
Mm.
to keep my Vinaya rules. For lunch, I would bring a lunch, I'd eat a big breakfast, and then just take a snack with me. And uh,
Mm.
and I think the first day lunch wasn't working so well. They went overtime or something like that. But once bit, twice shy. I knew when to eat, and whenever I could get a snack, I ate, and within the time. And of course, the 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 Buddhist Sun app. I have the Buddha Sun app that I made, and that's a lifesaver. I mean, literally, I'm eating to the last minute. So
Mm.
sometimes, uh, but yeah, you have to keep the Vinaya rules. Um, One of my friends, out of the blue, I talk with him all the time. We're good friends, uh, and I I told him I was going to leave and I'm going to do the Kelaniya thing, and he was like, well, if you need someone to pay for it, let me know. And so then he wired all the money. He did the first half, and he says I'll do the other half too for you. So that
Mm.
was very good. So I just had him contact the coordinator, and they worked out the details. And eventually, it took a while. Um, I'm
Mm.
sort of like a local student. Uh, I'm in the local system, and so they sent US
Mm.
dollars to my student account, and I still have like way extra credit of cash in my account.
Mm.
Uh, but uh,
Mm.
but it was enough for me to take classes and take the exams, and they'll figure it out later. So the computer system is a little out of whack for me because I'm a foreigner, but I'm in the local system. Um, so it's good. So I think there were no issues with Vinaya. There's a lot of I had to find a monastery that follows Vinaya that I could live at. And luckily, I'm in this beautiful monastery. It's a small monastery with really good monks, and I choose to live here. And before I lived in Hantana in the high mountains, it's like always raining and there's always lightning storms there, and that was fun, but it was a little too wet for me. I had to leave because
Yeah.
because of the weather. It was a little too cold. It was too cold and wet, but it was so beautiful there. It was so beautiful there. And good monks there. Some of my friends are there, so um but
Mm.
that was quite a journey to do that. But we only had to do the classes were only 2 weeks per month, 2 Saturdays per month. And then
Mm.
the other ones were online. So
Mm.
I could live 4 hours away. I could live 1 hour away. It wasn't so bad. And the rest was online. And um, yeah, I got internet connection, with all my stuff that I do. I have, unlimited internet, and it's not a deal, a big
Mm.
deal for me to get that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your response. Another question I is waiting for. So may I invite the another questioner, Mr. Almo, or if you have a
Pandey,
question, please.
Pandey, thank you very much. What I would like to know is I might miss it in the beginning. Is that degree program able to do it completely online? If not, then how many times you have to come to Sri Lanka to do it? If I want
Um,
to do distance learning, yeah.
yeah, you could do it online. There are about like there might be 6 to 10 people in the classrooms, and there might be about usually there's like about 18 or 19 people online. We're online ourselves twice a month. So it's definitely uh, available online. There's a lot of people from Indonesia, some people from China, mostly from those two countries. And I don't think they have, I went through the points that they have. They have, 4 questions times 20, that's 80 points. And then you got your assignments, your research paper, that's 20 points. That's 100 points. I don't think they have any type of attendance requirement. Don't quote me on that, although I guess this is being recorded. But you have to look at that yourself. But they upload the videos uh, to LMS, a learning management system, and you can watch the videos if you're in a different time zone, like an extreme time zone, like America, 12-hour difference or something. You might not be able to catch all the classes, and so then you can watch the class, what they call asynchronous, in an asynchronous manner. And you have to be careful though when you're an online student and you have the ability to just watch the classes whenever you want to. Sometimes you might watch double speed or something like that, and just go through it quicker. And you can do all that, but you're not actively participating. And so then when you get the time of the exams, this is like the European system, you, they have no requirements until the very end, you know. And so if it might seem easy, you can just do the videos, you can watch them offline or something like that, but you're going to be missing the contact with the students. You have to be very involved with the WhatsApp group to know what's going on. Just like we also have to be involved with the WhatsApp group. And
Thank you.
one of the things you have to be very careful about is you have to get the PDFs. You have to, and you got to keep them organized. They send the PDFs on the WhatsApp group, and you've all probably had this problem where you get a document on PDF, and then a month later, 2 months later, you try to get it, and it's no longer available. And so it's happened a lot. It happened a lot to us, and they're very important for studying later on. Very important for studying later
I see. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Okay.
on. Good. I hope you've
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Thank you for your full answer. And the next questioner is Miss Medukaso. Medukaso. Can you hear?
I'm hearing your voice. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, we
now
can. So
Can you
please,
hear me?
yes.
Can we see you?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Can we put it in?
Thank you, Seattle. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you very
Yes.
much for sharing your experience and learning in Sri Lanka. Yeah, here is my, I have two, I think I have two questions after learning your presentations about your, yeah, uh, about your studies study out there in Sri Lanka. So I'm now learning from your point is that still studying in this master degree programs in the second year, right? Am I right, Seattle?
Yes.
Randy? Sure.
Yeah.
So yes.
Hopefully I qualify for the writing of the dissertation, and then I can do the thesis, But I hope I qualify for that, and then we'll get an assigned. I think what happens is we get assigned to an advisor, sort of a thesis advisor. And then we have
Yes.
to submit a proposal. We have to write a research proposal. So I already did that step as part of my assignment. And so I want to keep the same topic for my research proposal that I did as an assignment. So there's like 20 pages of my plan of how I'm going to write my thesis. And then I'll have to beef it up. I'm going to get advice from the teacher. Uh, and I said the master's costs 900. That's only for 1 year. I think 2 year is maybe 1,300 total. I'm not sure. I have to look it up, but I think it's around 1,300 or 1,400.
Thank you. So it is like it is like only for the, because I know from I knew from the previous question that it can be learned by the lay people, right, Sierra? So in your
Of
class,
course,
it's like both, sure,
it's like a
both
what?
both
Both
monastic
monastic.
community and the lay persons, or just only for the monastic? I mean, in your
I think
class,
it's
it's both.
maybe about 30% monastics, 35% maybe.
Mm. 35 only.
Something like that, maybe.
Sure. You said like that. It is not.
That's lay
Is there any
people.
age limit? Mm.
Huh?
Age limit. Is there any age limit out there?
Oh, I'm 55. I mean, come on.
You can do it.
So,
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know if I don't
We
think
don't have
there's
that.
a limit. I think if you want to go and you have a university degree or something like that from ages ago, mine was from the 90s. Then the main thing is, yeah, you need a university degree or an equivalent. So the monastics know that they can use their Dhammacharya degree as an equivalent, actually, to they can go directly to masters without doing a BA. But for a layperson, you would need an undergraduate from an accredited university. Maybe like Yangon University is probably accredited or something like that, some type of international standard. Um, Something like that. In America, a lot of us have degrees. Doesn't matter that doesn't mean we're smart or anything. Um, but um, but I think you have to have some requirements. There's some requirements. Age is not a requirement from what I know.
Yeah. This is good to know, because in Myanmar, in my country, like the international Theravada, Theravada Buddhist missionary, especially for the monastic
Yeah,
monastic community.
yeah, I was there actually for 1 year. ITBMU.
Oh,
You
you
cut
was
off a
there?
little bit. You cut off a little bit, but I was at ITBMU in 2016,
Oh,
2017, something like that.
oh, you
Just
was
for
there,
one,
right? Oh, so you
what?
you study like a diploma, I think. Yeah?
Yeah, just a diploma. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
1 year is for the diploma. Yeah.
You
Hello?
you said something? Yeah. Do you
Hello?
want?
Yeah, that's why my second question is very because I'm still as a Myanmar citizens and people like lay people both monastic community and the lay person can also learn as that like ITBMU for the Buddha study,
Right.
Buddhist literature, from studying from the very foundation course like diploma to till. If you can learn more, you can still reach to the end like master, bachelor,
PhD.
master, and then many more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that
Actually, ITVMU, I
sense,
don't know what they do,
for
but
example, like me or other.
ITVMU, okay. It's
Sorry.
I don't know what they do, but they make
Okay.
you they make you do a master's for like 4 or 5 years. It takes like 4 or 5 years to get a master's.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
America,
It is long. Yeah,
it's
4 years.
crazy. I heard they reduced it. I heard they reduced it, but they reduce it to like
Yeah.
3 years or something like that. But standard is 1 year or 2 years. In America, anywhere, it's 1 year or 2 years.
Of course, I did 2 years in the US CRO. Here,
Okay,
here
okay.
3 years. Yeah. I study out there for 2 years for master program, master of public health out there. And here Buddha study, Buddha Dhamma is 3 years, and I learned that it's including the Bible verse is the 4 years kind of,
Yeah,
because you have to
yeah,
wait for 1 year. So
yeah,
that's why,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm thinking like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
Sure, Lala, this is my last questions. Yeah, as I said like that, because a person who has the like university like ITBMU in the country, and also like the South Asian countries, Sri Lanka has the Buddha's teaching study. So, for a person like me or other lay persons want to study the study Buddhist literature, should Kelaniya University be a choice? That's my question, Ciara. Yeah, it depends, or
Yeah,
it just depends.
yeah,
It depends.
it
Totally
doesn't,
depends your choice. Or sure, that's my
yeah,
that's
they
my
don't
questions.
require,
Last question. Yeah.
yeah, they don't require you to be
Mm,
fluent in Pali. They don't require you to be fluent in Pali. So there might be some Pali quotes that they'd like you
mm,
to answer. You might get more points if you do some Pali quoting, but the majority of it is they're going to give you Pali terms, but the it's a master's level more about connecting the knowledge and applying the knowledge and adapting the knowledge. More like that than a strict like heavy Buddhist background. You should have, I think you'd probably have a Buddhist background anyways. So I think you have to have some Buddhist background in order. I don't know because I went to ITBMU. I have the diploma. I went to IIT for the International Institute of Theravada. I went there for 2 years. Plus, I've been a monk for 25 years. So I don't know what the Buddhist requirements are. I had the degree from my lay person time in the 90s, and I have the Buddhist knowledge. And so you can contact them and ask them. I can there's a flyer I think I posted on my Facebook account, so you can look at the history, and there's like a contact number on my Facebook page, which is public. Even if you're not like a follower or something, you can look at the history maybe about 2 months ago, and you'll see.
Okay. Okay. Thank you,
Thank you, Ciara, for
Adip.
your answer.
Okay.
It is helpful
Okay,
for
okay.
me. Thank you.
Please, let me say you, please. We should share time to other participants because we have a limited time. Thank you for your active participation and also for your good response and fully respond. Okay. Any other participation? Next, who is going to ask? Now I saw their hand, Mr. Almo. Do you want to ask again?
I can wait until nobody else is asking.
Okay, okay.
So,
Please try to keep your question clear and precise. And also, Banriver, may I humbly request you to answer in a short. Thank you.
Because
I saw Banavadijaniya sent message, raise hand. Ashanti on the about.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds. I would like to apologize. My voice is
So,
not clear or something like that. I want to ask a question. How he write a thesis? How many chapter and which method using in Sri Lanka?
So so we if you can mute yeah. So the thesis, I didn't write the thesis yet, but it needs to be between 80 and 100 pages, A4, I think maybe 12 point or something like that. They have spacing, whatever. It's about 20,000 words. And I think they're using the APA style, and you're assigned you'll be assigned an advisor, and they'll help you write it. One of my friends, he's actually he's in Amsterdam, and he's that's his job. Like that's all he does is advise people. So I'm gonna also use him as a maybe I'll get some advice from him uh, as well. But you'll get an assigned teacher. And I'm not sure how that process works, and they haven't contacted us yet. I said, so when do we start writing? And they say, we'll get in touch with you or something like that. So I don't know much about the thesis writing. It's about 20,000 words. They say between 80 and 100 words, APA style. That's my brief answer.
okay, thank you very much. Next question is Bande Bandesa. Okay, please.
Okay, nice to see you, Benny.
Is this the Pandiza that I know from programming, or no, there's a different Pandiza. Okay.
And
There's
Yeah,
so one of the programmers for TPR is also called Pandiza. Pandaza,
yeah,
actually.
this Benny that is from Africa, Benny.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, Benny. My question is clear. Generally, Burmese monk, Sri Lankan monk, they used to chanting such as Abhidhamma, Bhatana, and some Buddhist literature. They used to chant it regularly. So,
Hmm.
have you chanted during like maybe some literature, Bhatana, Vinaya, some Bali literature, like just like Burmese monk and Sri Lankan monk. So, and also which Bali literature do you regularly chanting? Is it clear, Bali?
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow we have different days for the Patimokkha. So tomorrow I will probably chant the Patimokkha by memory. For the Uposatha. Today, usually we're a day later. Sometimes we're the same day as Myanmar, and sometimes we're a day later. And so tomorrow is our Uposatha, and I'll probably be chanting. I'll make mistakes, but I'll chant it by memory, the Patimokkha. So in terms of Vinaya chanting, that's it. I said
Yeah, we just
earlier, I said earlier that I
Parida,
did.
Parida.
So Paticca Samavada, yeah, I know that. And
Parida, Parida, stuff like that.
we do, part of our chanting repertoire is the Ratana Sutta, Metta Sutta. I guess I'm probably a little rusty on Mangala Sutta. I can chant it with a group, but not with maybe by myself complete.
Yeah.
And then loving kindness, the Kelaniya Metta Sutta, Kanda Paritta, Mora Paritta, things like that. Today we were supposed to do the Patana, actually, the beginning
Okay.
part of the
Thank you,
talk.
Benny.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Next question, Mr. Almo.
Uh,
Okay.
Pande, you mentioned a little bit about being a technologist and stuff. So a lot of university are cracking down on use of AI. So what is the policy at your university on the use of AI? And also as a Buddhist monk, how do you use AI according to Vinaya?
Yeah, can you, who's ever speaking, can you have them enlarged? Yeah. But I'm not really sure what they do about AI. I'm very careful about that because I'm there to learn. So I mean, you could just press a button and have it write your whole thing, you know. So we wrote um, five five research papers, six paper assignments, and I definitely used AI to find references, like I would use Google. Um, and I used AI more or less as like an editor. And so uh, I would say, you know, is there some grammar or some words that I'm using that's not academic or something like that? And then I paste it and it says, well, you can do this. And I'm like, well, this is not my writing. You know, don't change it that much. And so you have to be careful, um, not to let it rewrite something for you, that's not your own work. So uh, you have to sign that it's your own work. And so it's my ideas, it's my writing, but you could legally pay an editor to rewrite things and restructure things, but it's got to be your own work. Um, you know, you know, you I mean, it's just letters after your name anyways. It depends if you want the letters, you know, you can do all this.
Yeah.
You know, they have program one of my friends, I have a website called classicaltheravada.org, and he's a professor. And I asked him, "What do you do with AI?" And he says everything that is gradable is done in class. So nowadays, I don't even think they have to be careful with papers and stuff like that. But everything that they have a grade and credit to, it's actually done in class and stuff like that.
I
So
see.
when I took the exams, there was a picture in my Facebook account of what it's like at the exam. You'll see me in an auditorium and you'll see like 150 students all lined up, and they're very strict about doing that. So for exams, for sure, you definitely have to do that. For the thesis, for the papers, you know, they're anywhere between 10 and 20 pages of text, you know, that we're doing A4. And we got, you know, it's total, you know, the cover paper and the
So
the
yeah.
citations. So
So my
you have to write it, and you have to make sure it's your own work, and and a lot of times I didn't, cut and paste. I was like looking and I'm like, well, just tell me what's wrong, and then I fix it myself because I'm afraid, that it would change too much or something, so
I
most
see.
of the time.
So,
So
so the
yeah, you have
university
to you have
does
to
sorry.
you
Oh,
have
I
to
think
you have
that
to
is
sign
something.
they have a checkbox that says that this is your own work.
Okay.
And it's like, AI is just the same as paying a friend, hiring someone to write your thesis. I mean, they have that in America. You see when you're in college, you see advertisements. Like if you need a term paper, you can buy one. This is in the 90s, so it's easier, it's more acceptable, but you're probably gonna get you know automatic F for plagiarism.
Mhm.
So it's got to be your own work.
Yeah, so the thing is that university doesn't have specific policy on AI usage and stuff, right? It just as long
I
as it's your own words.
Yeah, I think nowadays they run your papers and theses through AI checkers and stuff like that. They have AI detection programs, and I'm not really sure, but I think that I hope they have it. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Thank you, Pandey.
Okay, thank you very much. It is a very useful question and answer. Then it is now over 10 p.m. So it is the last question. Any participants who have a question for today? Venerable Sai is sharing a lot of idea about the program and also his experience, and also he's saying something from three Pitakaras and also research and the type of question and criticism. There are so many information or shares tonight. Therefore, we got a lot of things from him, a lot of insight from him. So it's a now last question. Nobody asked. I have a question and a request.
Okay, yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. But not a question because I want to know many things in your presentation. Uh, but I want to request on behalf of the founder of Tawaku Education Forum, Venerable Wisoda, on behalf of him, I want to request next time, if you have a time, please share again on this forum. But, and also I want to suggest the topic AI and academic work or research. This is a one topic I want you to share because you are good at a computer program. You are a programmer because
Little
you
bit.
know,
Now,
especially Myanmar man, we are very far away from the technique or computer or ICT. Yeah. So therefore, we would like to hear AI and academic work and research. How to overcome AI? Because AI was created to use in the world, but we scare the plagiarism or something like this. We afraid of using the AI. It's not a way. Therefore, how to use, how to overcome and the problem, just like plagiarism. Therefore, next time, Bandriva, please, if you have a time, AI and academic work or research. This is a one topic. The second one is research and Buddhism. That also very important because nowadays in my country, many institute, university, academies are appearing. We start uh, are doing research, but we need to know seriously about how to do research in Buddhism. Therefore, next time if you have the time, please share research in Buddhism. How should we do research in Buddhist area, especially in the field of Theravada Buddhism?
hmm.
How should we do? So these are two questions. Please try to remember. I humbly request you. I really want to hear. So I request you on behalf of the founder of Tawaku Education Forum or on behalf of all the audience. Thank you very much,
Hmm.
Mandy. Now, so we are approaching the end of the program. I wanted to express our sincere gratitude to Venerable Subhuti for delivering such a meaningful and beneficial talk. I would also like to thank all participants for your present attention and respectful participation. Now, let's conclude the program by reciting Buddha Sasana, Siran Tetru three times.
Buddha,
Buddha Sasana, Siran Tetru. Buddha
Buddha,
Sasana, Siran Tetru. Buddha Sasana, Siran Tetru. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.
thank
I
you.
hope to meet you again.
I appreciate
Thank you, Wendy.
the opportunity to share. Um, and yeah, I contacted the venerable monk and asked him. I told him I'd like to share about this, and within like